The honourable member for Richmond.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday questions were asked to the Minister of Health regarding the protocols used at the Nova Scotia Forensic Hospital dealing with unescorted leave passes. Mr. Speaker, we're now aware that the patient in question who failed to return on Friday night is still missing. In light of the Denny incident mere weeks ago, which led to an unfortunate murder in our province, I'm wondering if the Minister of Health could advise why, in this case, the Minister still waited 72 hours before notifying the public when the patient failed to return.
The Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member knows, there's a criminal review board that reviews the information, the medical information, and makes a determination about individuals with respect to the risk they pose to the community. And they lay out parameters for the doctors and nurses to work within in terms of a treatment plan and a release plan for that individual. And that was the case with this particular young woman. She's been at the forensic hospital for close to a year. She's had numerous passes into the community. She was granted a pass on the Friday in question, and when she failed to return, the procedures that are in place in terms of informing the police were followed, and then subsequently informing the public. And all procedures that exist were followed, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Richmond on his first supplementary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, one would say that all the procedures were followed in the Denny incident as well, and we know the most unfortunate result of that case. Mr. Speaker, we've been through this just a few weeks ago, and we've seen what can happen. And today we're now hearing the minister, even after the Denny incident, decided the very protocols she says have been followed are the ones her department is reviewing to see if they're actually the appropriate protocols. But what we now know today, Mr. Speaker, the department waited 72 hours to notify the public. Halifax Regional Police today are saying that they suspect that the patient in question is now in the province of Quebec, which Nova Scotians have to ask, had they been notified earlier, could the public have assisted the police and the government in trying to locate this patient and make sure that she returns to the facility to receive the treatment that she needs? So in light of the fact that Halifax Regional Police now believe that the patient is in the province of Quebec, would the Minister of Health please tell us whether she still believes waiting 72 hours to notify the public was a prudent call?
Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I said yesterday in question period, on a daily basis, we may have anywhere between 10 to 15 patients who are at East Coast Forensic receiving some form of leave from the forensic hospital. And these procedures are there to be used in the event that someone leaves the facility and doesn't return. Police are notified within 15 minutes of the failure for an individual to return. If a person is AWOL for a longer period of time, it is their procedure to notify the public within 72 hours. They do have the flexibility to notify the public earlier if they feel that there is a risk to the public, and those decisions are made in consultation with the police department. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Richmond on his final supplementary.
Speaker, the facts speak for themselves. We had a system which was brought to Nova Scotians' attention, a system that probably few Nova Scotians even understood how it worked until the Denny incident. The government did react by saying they would order a review, and one would have suspected that the government would have put in place interim measures while waiting for the review to try to ensure that this would not have happened again. Instead, today we're being told that the very same procedures that's currently under review were applied in this case to a patient that we're now being told has made her way to the province of Quebec and is now even further away from receiving the treatment that she deserves. I would add, Mr. Speaker, I would prefer that the Premier would take the safety of patients and the safety of Nova Scotians seriously in this province and implement immediate measures to do so, rather than sit and wait until incidents happen and then provide excuses. Like, you know, Mr. Speaker,
Order.
if the Premier again.
Order. 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 The honourable member for Richmond has the floor.
No, Mr. Speaker, it's most unfortunate the Premier doesn't take this matter seriously and would not put more attention to this very matter. Mr. Speaker, we've seen a very unfortunate incident. Nova Scotians are now being told to wait for a review, only to see how long that will take before implementing changes. So I would ask the Minister of Health again, in light of this second incident and the fact that we're being told this patient is in the province of Quebec, what immediate changes, temporary changes, will this government implement to try to ensure that these incidents do not happen again?
Honourable the Minister of Health and Wellness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker, in my judgment, it is not appropriate to suspend the treatment of mental health patients in the forensic hospital or the charter rights of mental health patients in a forensic hospital because we had a tragic incident. We all recognize there was a very tragic incident in our community, and we are doing a review of the procedures, and we are doing a review of the clinical oversight with respect to what occurred around that incident. But, Mr. Speaker, we have many, many mental health patients in the forensic hospital on treatment plans, subject to the review board. And because we've had this incident, we cannot now say that they will not be able to leave the forensic hospital, to go to school, to work, to visit family, to have a weekend home, or any of those things. These are the treatment plans that are in place, and for most of the people who are in that facility, these treatment plans are working the way they are intended, Mr. Speaker.